Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Cage Talk. Today, I have my guest is a female mixed martial artist who is number 11 ranked in the UFC. She fought in Invicta. She fought in Legacy, did some boxing, did some kickboxing. We have the lovely Andrea Lee. How you doing today, ma'am?
Doing really good. Hey, you did your research.
Oh, I have to. You know how many times? No, but that sometimes it doesn't work in my benefit. Sometimes, like when I get some old school fighter, like I had Gary Goodridge on, and I was giving his list, and he's like, "Well, yeah, you forgot one thing," and I was like, "Oh, no, those are always embarrassing." I'm like, yeah, that too. Sorry about that, but I'm glad.
Well, you can't always hit every accolade, you know.
Especially the old school guys. They have just so much and stuff. Someone's popping their head out right there.
Yeah. Oh, hi. That would be Ainsley.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Tony.
So.
I did.
What part of Texas are you from?
I'm from Atlanta, Texas. Thank you so much.
Look at that. You got your drink and everything. No one gives me a drink, so I just drink my own.
Well, water is what I should be drinking. But yeah, I'm from Atlanta, Texas, and that's in East Texas. It's close to Arkansas, Louisiana borders.
Okay, because yeah, I moved to Texas 5 years ago. I live in Dallas, Texas, but I live on the outskirts. I live in Rockwall, so that's close to, I think it's Texarkana. I think so. I don't even know.
I was gonna say, yeah, I grew up 20 minutes from Texarkana.
Okay. So Texas is big. It's different. How was growing up there, especially in that area?
It was nice. We grew up on, I guess, 12 acres. We had chickens, emus, goats, all, a bunch of different types of animals. And Atlanta being small, there really wasn't a whole lot to do, except hang out in Walmart parking lots or Sonic parking lots, shindigs every now and then out in pastures.
Is there a lot of green? Is there a lot of green out there?
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I don't think I could ever live in a big city like Dallas, Houston, definitely not New York. Like, nothing against any of those cities. It's just the traffic. I just cannot stand to drive in it. Like Shreveport, we have enough traffic, but I can handle it. It's really not that bad compared to other places.
See, that's the crazy thing is that, I'm about like 25 minutes from downtown Dallas, which is not too far, but not too close either. I could be a little bit further out, which would be fine. So we're kind of central. And right now, like Rockwall is still pretty new. They're still building a lot, especially in my neighborhood. But I know when we first got here, I mean, it was just green. It was just green everywhere. Like, it's not too bad, but I'm not.
They've started building on everything around you and just kind of tearing down all the trees and
that's what happens. That's what happens everywhere though. I mean, I'm from I lived in Miami for about 20-something years, and Miami was just a cluster of, it's just too much people, it's just too much traffic, and
I'm sure. I mean, I see it everywhere. It's like there's big nice lovely like spot of green land, it's just a huge lot, and then of course somebody's gonna have to start building on it just to like they're like, oh, that's a good spot, let's put something on it.
The crazy thing, they'll make a little neighborhood, but the neighborhood will be like 100 houses, and they're all on top of each other. Like, they have no land. Like, your neighbor, like, you can sneeze and the neighbor could hear you. It's like horrible.
I don't like that. I like my neighborhood. We actually, we have enough space. I have a backyard, a front yard. We have but I couldn't stand to like have like this much space between houses.
It's not good. So let's talk about your career and stuff, and how you started in mixed martial arts and stuff like that. Do you have any role models, or is it just something you kind of fell into just to do some like exercise, cardio, and you fell in love with?
Originally it was something that I wanted to do as a kid, take karate or something, but that never really happened. So once I graduated from Texas in Atlanta, I went to Shreveport and started working there. I started seeing a bunch of like kickboxing advertisement, and I was thinking that was definitely something that I'd like to do. But I didn't really start until I was 20. So at the time, I was 18 when I did start looking around, but I was like, well, I'll wait till I can actually afford it.
Mhm.
So I ended up waiting until I was 20. And then that was kind of when I started seeing a lot of cage fighting, watching a lot of UFC because I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings,
Okay.
and I had a friend who was talking about he had a cage fight coming up.
Mhm.
I mean, at the time, that's how like it was referred
Word of
to.
mouth, yeah, cage fighting.
Yeah, yeah, cage fighting. So I was like, so you really fight in a cage? That's cool. Like you get, I mean, I didn't really think about it. I didn't really put the two together. UFC and then like the cage fighting. I was not thinking about that. Because I'd watched plenty of the UFC fights by working
Mhm.
at Buffalo Wild Wings, but it just didn't kind of like register. But I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I want to do something like that. Like, where do
Mhm.
you train at? And he was like, oh, well, you probably wouldn't want to come and train with us because we liked, we weed out the week, and, you probably wouldn't like hack it. And they'd, it's like mostly guys. It was actually all guys, at that time. And he was like, they'd probably like rough you up, and I was like, well, I'll find someone who will take me serious and I'll go
Mhm.
train there. And so that's what I did. And, yeah, once I competed for the first time, like I was kind of hooked. And it was boxing that I started. And I
Mhm.
wanted to do MMA, but the trainer that I was with, uh, he suggested that he start me off with just boxing. That way, that kind of eased me into getting comfortable training fighting in front of a crowd, and
Mhm.
of course, learning one aspect of MMA instead of being thrown in there like having to know everything at once and not knowing it.
Yeah, and you were also, I believe you were Louisiana Golden Gloves, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
2010. I'm
it
trying to
was
remember.
my second fight. I won my first fight in Shreveport, and then I went to the Louisiana State Golden Gloves, and I won my fight there. And then from there, I went to the Women's National Golden Gloves, and I came up short in the championship bout, but I beat out another girl. It was 4 or 5 girls in that at the National Golden Gloves. One girl got a bye, and then the other 4 of us, we fought each other, and then, you know, got to go into the championship. So not that many girls were competing, but it still gave me a lot of great experience. And when I lost that fight, I realized that I was good considering I made it that far in 7 months. I mean, that was 7 months into training, and I went to Women's
Wow.
National Golden Gloves, and I was like, yeah, I lost, but I could probably, I think I have the potential to be something good here, and I figured I'd pursue it and see how far I could take it. And, I wasn't going to quit because I didn't want to have to, what if myself for the rest of my life. So,
Definitely, definitely. No regrets, right? That's
right.
the one thing you can't live without is regret. And from boxing, you went to kickboxing, correct? So you kind of started climb up that chain because I almost did kind of similar. I started off in boxing. I did 2 years of boxing, and then I did kickboxing because I wanted to kick people. And then I'm like, okay, I don't want to kick anyone. I want to take people down now.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I went through my journey. Was yours similar? You did kickboxing after, correct?
It was similar, but I had my boxing matches, and then I had my first MMA fight
Okay.
in December of 2011. And that I competed against a girl who was 4-0 at the time. And, I had my boxing experience. So I went into that fight just mainly trying to box her. I learned a couple of techniques, but I didn't know anything on the ground. Um, it was a big difference, to go from boxing to that. So after I lost that fight by decision, I went on to having a bunch of kickboxing matches because I wanted to work on my kickboxing,
Okay, okay. And
kickboxing Thai.
how was that experience out of those both of I mean boxing obviously we know boxing is about but kickboxing 'cause kickboxing multi you have a bunch of knees, elbows, clinch. I mean there's a lot that a lot of people don't I guess realize goes into more I wouldn't want to do that just because it's pretty intense.
It is. I mean, it was exciting, and we, we wore headgear, we wore shin pads, so we were protected. Uh, so, but it was still, and we didn't have to. We weren't allowed to throw elbows, so I guess it wasn't too bad, but it was fast paced because I believe the rounds were 2 minutes, just like boxing amateur rounds, and so you have to go in there and you have to really like have to throw a lot of volume, and kicks kick strikes are counted higher than punching. So I mean, like, even if so I couldn't go in there and just box and expect to win. I had to go in there and like use every limb. So my boxing did take me a long way, but I was able to get a lot better once I learned how to actually kick properly.
Gotcha. And your first promotion when you finally went into, you said your first bout was a girl that fought 4-0. What promotion was that? Was that something like smaller promotion?
Yes, it was a small promotion. It was here in Shreveport, actually.
Okay.
What's it called?
It's okay. It's not. You've
I
been.
can't remember it. I mean, I remember the promoter, the late it's Kim Addison. Anyways, I can't think of it right now. I feel terrible.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
316.
So after that, where did you end up going? You went to Invicta first, or did you do Legacy? I think it was Invicta, correct?
So after I wrapped up my amateur career, I had my first pro fight on. It was actually a promotion that my husband and another promoter around here like put together. I can't remember if I'm trying to think. Anyways, I can't remember the name of that promotion either.
At least he didn't hear you.
Yeah, but so like, and we had reached out to Invicta, and Invicta had already fought for Legacy. Like, I had already had a fight for Legacy. It was my last amateur last amateur fight was for Legacy. But McMaynard suggested that if I wanted to get the better matchups, with more females, that I needed to fight for Invicta. So we reached out to Invicta, and they wanted me to get one pro fight under my belt before being able to fight for Invicta. So I did that, and that was on our promotion. And I ended up winning that fight in the first, 60 seconds. I threw a kick, the girl blocked it, and freak accident happened. Her finger broke. So, I won. People like to say I kicked your finger off. That seems to be happening a lot lately, actually. But so after that, I went and had my second pro fight for Invicta against Shannon Sin. And that was a good fight. That was fun.
I think that got fight of the year, right? I believe that there was one fight that you got. It was almost like not fight. What was it? I'm trying to remember.
That was against Ariel Beck for Legacy.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That was when I fought for the title.
Yeah, that was a hell of a fight. Was there anyone that you kind of looked up to, or do you want to kind of mimic a certain style that you watched while you were training and competing and getting to the bigger stage, or no, you kind of just did your own thing and
I'd say out of the female fighters and stuff that I looked up to was Chris Cyborg, because I really liked her vicious style. She'd go in there and just was knocking people out, and I really liked how ruthless she was.
Okay.
So.
And what about male? Was there any male fighter that you just like watching and stuff that always?
I loved watching John Jones. He was, and he is, he's always been fun to watch. But it was just, I loved watching the way that he used like his
techniques, and
his
stuff.
lean, his elbows. He was just so good everywhere.
Definitely, it's just something special. Hopefully, again. We'll see what happens with him, because I don't know what's happening with him.
I don't know either. But also Cowboy Cerrone was always fun to watch, and then I was always a really big fan of GSP.
GSP, yeah, GSP was always good.
Yeah, I loved watching him fight.
Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite. Now, when you got into the UFC, how was that feeling? Do you remember, maybe the call, or just kind of take us through, I guess, the whole situation of if they contacted you, or how did that work, and your emotions and stuff, finally.
Well, it was after my fight. I had just fought Jesse. Freaking A. I'm just so terrible with every name. I can't think of anything right now. But I fought her I defended my title for LFA.
Okay.
Yeah, Jesse. And I'm pretty sure her name was Jesse. But anyways, she, after that fight, I won that fight. And then after that fight, Maynard was there, who's also the UFC matchmaker. So he came up to me after the fight, and asked me if I was wanting to take a fight on short notice. Now this was against Jessica I. Jessica I was supposed to fight Paige Van Zant, but I think Paige got hurt, so they were needing a replacement. So, he gave me a day to think it over, and we accepted. And they agreed to, give me a decent contract, for, for taking the fight on short notice. So I signed the contract. But then, going a few days later, found out that I couldn't fight. I had to do some USADA testing pool thing for 6 months over a diuretic that I took in one of my previous fights, or before one of my previous fights. So,
okay.
Anyway, long story short, I got to keep the contract, but I had to be put on the back burner.
Gotcha. And then your UFC debut officially was what?
For Veronica Macedo.
Veronica. And how was that? How were your nerves? Was it? I mean, obviously you're in the bigger show. I mean, it's UFC. Not saying not obviously downplaying any of the other companies,
right,
like that. But I mean, that's where everyone's goal is to be.
Yeah.
Well, how were you?
Well, of course, wanting to, the nerves of wanting to go out there and put on an impressive performance, those were there. But fighting and having I had already fought for Invicta and Legacy, LFA, so I was used to having cameras on me, and I was used to fighting for crowds, not necessarily at the level of the UFC crowds, but still used to fighting in front of crowds. And, I feel like Invicta did a really good job of kind of prepping you for all of that. They had media day, they had people interviewing you, so I was used to that, but there was just a lot more of that when you get to the UFC. So I was prepared, being, shuffled here and there and having to be here at these times, thankfully Invicta prepared us for that. That was great on Shannon Knapp's show. So, I was used to it by the time that I got to the UFC. But, that first walk to the octagon, that was incredible. Seeing thousands of people looking down at you and just cheering for you, it was really incredible. I won't forget it.
Gotcha. It's always that's one of the things I love listening to people when they first enter the octagon and stuff. And one of the questions I always ask people is, what was the toughest fight for you in your career as of right now? And then we'll talk about, there's one fight that I want to talk about because I don't really like the fighter that well, and I'll explain later. But go on. What was your toughest fight as of right now in the octagon, or in general in your career, and why?
My toughest fight, I guess. It's really hard.
That's right.
I guess I would have to say, against Joanne Calderwood. I don't know. It just seemed like it's the elements and just everything. And just, I mean, that's one fight that I lost, but I feel like it was probably the hardest fight that I had. I mean, it was, so hot there in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if you remember exactly, but they were still in the process of building the venue when we got there. And they just put so they just put the roof on that 3 days before they finished the roof. They just turned the AC on. It takes a week for the AC to cool down the entire venue. So when we got there, it was still so humid. It was so hot. I was exhausted after the first round. And I just remember just I was just so angry because I was so exhausted. I mean, from just the heat alone, you know, and I just remember doing so many stupid things, but I just remember that fight being just so hard, mainly like because of that. And I was making it harder on myself because I kept trying to take her down with these stupid takedowns that I don't feel like I would have done had I not been so like like, I don't know, heat exhausted, you know. I mean, I just was, and I was just, I could feel that like I was just so angry. Have you ever been so hot? Like,
It just
I
pisses
don't
you
know.
off. And you just,
Yeah.
yeah.
You just get so pissed off. You're just so, I don't know. Like, I just remember feeling like that in that fight. And I didn't know.
That was your first time fighting in Fight Island, correct? Or no?
Well, it wasn't Fight Island yet. It was,
Well, technically,
we didn't fight on Fight Island because they hadn't built it yet.
Okay.
But it was in the process of I guess being built. But we fought in a venue that they just threw up.
Oh my
just to
God, I
take
remember
down.
that because I remember Joe Rogan or somebody commentated saying that it was like hotter than the devil's balls. I remember that. I remember that. It was really bad. I think it was the commentators saying something about like Jesus Christ, it's so hot. So if they were hot, imagine the fighters. Yeah, I remember now. Sorry, I was like trying to like what,
Think
yeah.
about that. Yeah. So I got to be the first one of the first females to fight in Abu Dhabi.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
kind of like
but yeah, I just remember that fight being like the hardest. I would say just because of that, and you know, Joanne was that was a great fight. You know, I look forward to having that rematch. But yeah, that was probably my toughest fight.
yeah, definitely. Those are some things that you can't really get adjusted to. You know, there's certain things like you know you have to change your game plan and stuff like that if a fight goes a certain way. But I don't think like for that, like when there's so much heat and like the AC and that's bizarre. But that would suck. I would be
Yeah,
too.
and I keep a pretty like fast pace throughout my fights typically. So I don't really pace myself so much. So yeah,
I know.
I was exhausted quickly. No, like I don't believe that I do. I don't really pace myself too well.
Now the fight I wanted to talk to you about was the Lauren Murphy fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have you ever talked to Lauren Murphy after or anything like that? And are you friends with her? Just in case before I bash her.
whatever your opinion, you are allowed to have your opinion. We have talked, you know, and she's actually a lot nicer than you know. You know, she was nice to me after the fight, and you know, she made some jokes about, you know, me. It was her joke, you know. She was like, oh well, you know, like I can't remember exactly how she worded it. She was like, you banged me up pretty badly, but it's okay, you know. I wasn't very pretty before, whatever, you know. She made that kind of joke, and you know, and she's reached out to me and asked me to come and train with her and stuff since then, and you know, but that's about it. That's the extent, you know. And you know, and she's giving me props as a fighter, you know, and you know, believes that I'm one of the best in the division. That's what she said. So
yeah. Her interview and my interview, I never posted it. It was just that bad. But it was definitely not like this. I promise you. Like everyone, again, I don't like to talk bad about people, but man, she was rude as hell. So
really,
yeah, she sucked. So all right, so about that fight,
you'll have to tell me more when we're off air.
Okay, yeah, definitely. We'll talk a little bit more off air, but how'd you think that fight went? Again, controversial decision. What happened? What do you think? Again,
it was a close fight. I think that I feel like I outstruck her on feet. You know, I feel like I did more damage. I landed more strikes, but she did get the takedowns. But I believe, you know, I mean, I threw her to the ground. I capitalized on that, and I was on top of her for a little bit, and I did work. You know, I mean, we both weren't on the ground very long with each other. When she took me down, I mean, I was able to get right back to my feet. She didn't do any damage to me while I was on the ground. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I won the fight, but
yeah, that's one that was taken from you. Again, these judges that they've been having lately and stuff, it's just the decisions and the I don't know who's making them and stuff like that, and I don't know how the point system is because back in the day, I think the point system has changed Obviously back in the day, even if you took someone down, like that was really, really good. You didn't have to do damage on the bottom. You can literally take someone down and lay on them and you win the round.
Yeah.
And then lately, like, nowadays, like you have to do some damage. Just because you take someone down doesn't mean you win the fight. Like you can
Right.
take a person down 5 or 6 times, but the person gets back up. What's the point? Like nothing happens. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the case or regardless, but she didn't. How many times did she take you down? I don't even think she took you
I
down.
only think she took me down like twice.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like, do you, by any
She
chance, do you
waited.
look at the fight? Like, do you look at who's judging before, like, you fight? Because that would be something kind of concerning. No?
No, because I mean, I don't necessarily know the judges, even if I was to look to see who's judging. I
True.
can't remember who's who.
I would remember that fight though. I'd be like,
I
mark those
know.
names down, like highlight them. Like, okay, just in case.
I was definitely hoping those judges, which I was planning not to leave it in the judge's hand this time when I fought in Houston, but I oh shit, lost my train of thought. I mean, I remember seeing, one of the judges not paying attention. He was looking down, I think, at his cell phone or something like.
Was that the one where Joe Rogan was making a comment about, and like he was like, look, the guy's not even paying attention. He's
not even judging. Yeah, the whole fight. You hear Joe Rogan, he's talking about the judge not even paying attention to the fight. I mean, he got called out so many times in that fight, and it really is frustrating. But yeah, I do believe, but I believe I won the fight. And I think she only took me down twice. I think it was at the end of the second and third round. I don't know. Maybe it was the first. I can't remember. But I got a takedown too. In a sense, I believe, and I was on top, but then she reversed it. I even rocked her with a kick. And I hurt her with body shots. So, I mean, those should have been taken into consideration. But it's just the way judges are. You never know.
Yeah. It sucks. And it's cliche kind of say to never leave it in the judge's hands. But again, I
would say if those same judges were judging my fight in Abu Dhabi, I probably would have
won. Well, there you go. Damn it. We should.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to highlight those. You have to highlight those names. Even though since Joe Rogan called them out, I bet you $1 million they don't even work anymore as a judge.
It didn't work. I mean, Texas. I've heard some things. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Now your last fight, UFC 262. I mean, you did a hell of a performance. Fighting Shevchenko, got her in a submission. It was excellent. It was awesome. Again, like I said, I was in Houston. It was the day before, I think. It was a Friday. The Friday before, I didn't go, but talk to me about that and with that crowd and that energy. And again, you were super pumped. You looked really, really good, really sharp. Just to explain your whole overall experience.
Well, just having a crowd back, that was awesome. Being able to walk around in the lobby, not really having to wear masks so much, seeing fans, being able to take pictures with fans. It really made things feel normal again. And I think that made a big difference for me. Being able to walk out and see everyone, reaching down, wanting you to like dap them up, I mean, I love that, and having that energy back in the crowd really helped. And I think that without it, I mean, because I suffered badly in my last fight. It really just felt so weird not having a crowd. I don't know. I was just so flat. And I feel like I just felt that. It just felt so flat. It didn't feel like I was even fighting in the UFC. I don't know. It was weird to me. Other fighters liked it, but it doesn't work well for me. So for having the crowd, it really helped me. It helped my energy. It like even boos, whenever like that energizes me. That's like, that makes me want to like go out there and just like upset them, all the people that boo and all the people that are cheering. I want to go out and give them a reason to cheer,
Gotcha.
It really helped out a lot. It was for me, great performance. I was just happy to have things back to normal somewhat.
Yeah, definitely. Especially nowadays. I mean, again, I work at the airport and stuff. So, you see a little bit of everyone starting to kind of get back together, especially Texas. Texas don't mess around, everyone, the minute like they're like, yeah, no mask. Like I was like, I haven't been wearing my mask. God knows how long. I mean, maybe that's irresponsible. But I'm over it. I'm over the mask.
It's not irresponsible. I don't think that you should have to suffocate yourself.
Exactly.
Let everybody else, I mean, like, you're wearing a mask, you're protecting yourself. Do that if that's what you feel is protecting you. I don't think it's protecting anything.
I agree with you. I paid for these teeth to get, braces and shit. I want to smile, like, come on.
Yeah.
Now people would
I
mess
mean,
up.
I'm sure that's going to upset a lot of people, but it's my opinion and I'm allowed to have it. And, I live in the South, thankfully. And you know what? I think, because we went to a coffee shop in Texas and this was after the mask mandate, I mean, of course it was still up to the businesses or whatever, but it was like, they're still trying to enforce it. And of course I just thought that was silly, but anyway, so it's like 2 days later, Texas comes out with the law that it's like, you're not allowed to enforce others to wear the mask, like, or you get fined if you do. It's like 2 days later, it was like they're, like you can't even tell somebody to put a mask on in Texas or you get fined. Yep. I'm like, way to go, Texas.
How things change like that. Just like that. We're all people are freaking out, telling each other what to do. Now you can't tell anyone what to do.
Hell yeah, that's what it should be.
I know it should be. And I feel like it just gives people that don't have that much power, just gives them a little bit of power. You give someone a little bit of power and they take it to extreme and stuff. So anyone's like, hey, put your mask on. I'll put it. I don't care. Do what you want.
Yeah.
So. But again, I want to thank you for coming on. Do you have anything planned right now, as in writing for your next fight, or no? It's just kind of up in the air, or?
No, I don't have any. I mean, like, I want to fight again. I want to turn around and fight again within the next few months. But as far as like an opponent, I don't have one. I don't have one in mind, not necessarily.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna ask you that. So, who's your next person? No, that's fine. That's apparently.
I don't ever know. I don't ever even know that myself. There's so many females that are in the top 10 right now. That it's just been changing, and I can't even tell you who all is in the top 10. So it's just like whoever I get. But I'm focused on, like, Tony has his fight coming up. Tony's my boyfriend. He fights on July 24th, and so we're kind of like preparing for that. He helped me get ready for my fight, and so I want to be there for him.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, again, big fan. This is one thing that's kind of cool. When I interview fighters and stuff, there's certain people that, like, you kind of like tend, like, not that I don't follow you or follow other people, but there's a little bit more importance. Like, I had Miranda Maverick on, and like the last fight she had, I felt like I was like in her corner. I was nervous for the fight because, like, I've talked to her before. She's a really, really nice, sweet girl. So again, I'm a big fan and looking forward to seeing you fight again for sure.
Well, thanks.
Right.
I appreciate it, Alex. Yeah. I look forward to speaking with you again. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Anytime, whenever you want to, jump on. I mean, you have my number. Shoot me a text. But hope everything's well for you and your family, and God bless.
All right. You too, Alex.